You know where you are!
This is Appetite for Distortion.
Welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion. My name is Brando, episode number 456. Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Joe Bonamassa. How are you, sir?
Wow, 456 episodes, man. That's impressive.
Thank you.
I did 82 live from Nerdvilles, and then I decided I wanted to be a guitar player again, not a broadcaster, you know?
See, I have no choice.
Mhm.
I can't play guitar. I have dreams of being a rock star, doing what you do, playing the instrument the way that you do, but I went the radio route. And that's the truth. Like I tried taking guitar class in middle school. I don't have the dexterity or the strength. So actually, I appreciate this segue. So if I sound silly, because obviously I'm talking to a brilliant mind, a gearhead, from somebody who's not a musician, if I say anything silly, please feel free to laugh at me, and my guitar listeners will get it. We'll get what you're saying.
Listen, no problem.
Oh,
I'm sure you're well versed in this conversation.
oh, for sure. Well, I'm also, before we even get going, as we're recording this, happy belated birthday, which was a couple days ago. So
Thank you. I'm one car lease away from 50. That's the way I look at it.
Are you an easy guy to get a gift for? Does everyone get you guitars or guitar related stuff? Are you an easy person to? Or did you do anything special for it?
I ask people, my mother says it best. It's like, what do you get for someone who buys everything that he wants for himself? So I ask people if they feel the need, which I discourage, they feel the need to get me anything. It's just donate to your favorite charity or music related, foundation that that helps get instruments in the kids' hands and helps keep the music going. I mean, it's we're in a weird time now. I've been following this story that Variety reported, that everyone from my friend Molly Marriott to Peter Frampton has been kind of chiming in on about this AI generated Humble Pie and Small Faces track that is out, using an AI generated Steve Marriott voice. And and then you see an ad that comes out from Apple themselves about a steam press crushing a whole bunch of instruments. And I mean, the technology's impressive, but it's also, we're getting away from what music really is. It's a binary thing made by human beings for human beings. And call me old fashioned, but I don't think you can ever replace that. Especially, in our generation. Like I said, I'm almost 50 years old. And in some circles, if you look on the internet, I'm regarded as a quote boomer. But but there's a reason why classic music stands the test of time versus stuff, the question is like, why isn't there any classic records like, Can You Hear Me Knocking by the Rolling Stones? Coming out anymore. Well, it's the technology makes it takes the rough edges off. Takes, everything's perfectly in tune, perfectly in time and quantized. Great. But it's not the same as 4 or 5 people in a room with live amps and singing live, warts and all, just going direct to tape, and that's why classic records and classic music is classic, because it hits you on a binary level that sometimes the more edited stuff that comes out today does not.
You're right. It's like music with an expiration date now, because it's just the technology they're kind of showcasing rather than the human being. And you want the story behind the song, what got that person motivated, what were they feeling that day, and you're not going to get that from a computer or a robot, so it's completely different. I'm slightly younger than you. I just turned 40.
Congratulations.
Thanks. So I'm on the. I'm not a millennial because I grew up without. I remember a world without computers. I remember like getting my first computer. So I mean, I like to think I'm cusp of Gen X and millennial.
You're an honorary Gen X. Man.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
We're the last to grow up without phones and internet and computers, and we're the last to know how to use an answering machine and a rotary phone.
There you go. Yeah, exactly, exactly. And it's this is actually a good segue because in addition to turning 40, my son just turned 1. So, and me and my wife are big into music. So it's like, well, how do we teach him? What do we want to raise him on? So the segue is that thankfully to people like you that we can gift him things. So here's my big birthday segue that I kind of shoehorned in there. So there's a few things from you that are available. People want to see what real musicianship is like. So it's coming out. This first thing is June 21st. It's the release of the live film and CD release of Live at the Hollywood Bowl with Orchestra. So let's just actually start there. What's the mindset of going into play with an orchestra? Do you feel like a conductor? Does it feel like a band? What's the feel versus jamming with the band or other guitarists?
It's a different experience. I mean, it's something I've always wanted to do, and we were slated to do an orchestra show in August of 2020 at Red Rocks with the Colorado Symphony. Obviously, August of 2020, nobody was working, and so we had charts that were brilliantly arranged by people like David Campbell and Trevor Rabin and Jeff Bova, and we had a 3-year gap, and we decided. We made a couple albums after that, and we decided to add more tracks from the latest stuff and do it at the Hollywood Bowl, which was a really great experience. The difference between having guest musicians join us, so we've done everything from horns to we've had people like Eric Clapton come and guest, and all these DVDs, Paul Rogers, Beth Hart, John Hyatt. The difference is with the orchestra you are a guest with the orchestra. They are not a guest with you. You are pinned to those charts. The orchestra is as fearless and as it gets, because you are pinned to those bars. Like, we play improvised music all the time. Like, I'll take an extra chorus, a solo if I'm feeling it. I'll take some nights I take less. We have to be on the money. So if it's written as a 24-bar solo break with orchestra, you have to be exactly 24 bars, because they are going to read the chart and they're not going to be listening to, oh, I think Joe's in a mood to take another chorus. No, you will get off the tracks, and we had to really concentrate like as hard as possible to hear all of the cues, and we rehearsed pretty vigorously before the tour. And Jeff Bova came out with multiple keyboards and computers and replicated the orchestra sections brilliantly. And then we rehearsed with the orchestra the day before the Hollywood Bowl and then played. And it worked out, but it was really stressful because you're at the night, the bowl's packed. It's the hometown show. You got one shot at it. And we nailed it. I'm very proud of the band, and so thankful to, especially, my drummer, Lamar Carter, who would give me these little snare taps when he knew that I was getting off, and he'd be like, da-da, and then here we go. Okay, I know the cue now, and it's difficult when you're fronting it and you're playing and you're singing, not to just kind of get in the moment, but you have to be like in the moment, perform, and be very conscious of where the orchestra is.
That's a lot of to focus on, while trying to just enjoy yourself at the same time with the music. So yeah, that's kind of what I was wondering. So that is very interesting, to a different dynamic, but you make it seem so seamless. So you can't tell.
Well, thank you. And it was all one take. There was no major edits on this. And only a few little nips and tucks along the way where, I would, stick the landing on the wrong note on the solo. And, with the technology now, I don't have to go back and fix it. It could just be pushed up. It's like if I'm one note flat, it's like, boom. Oh, it never happened. That's the great thing about recording with Pro Tools is little things that would normally require a studio date and you're trying to match the sounds and everything. It can just be like, oh, it never happened. There was maybe 2 or 3 of those moments in, 90 minutes for me and a few other things. But other than that, what you hear on the Hollywood Bowl recording is exactly how it went down. And really, really proud of it. And, because it could have gone the other way. And there's no retakes, especially with the union, the union in LA. It's like it's 90 minutes. And we used 89 minutes, and 37 seconds of that 90 minutes.
Oh, that's funny. Well, and if not, I guess then maybe you would have gone to AI in that situation. But I think Pro Tools was sufficient for this time.
I mean, the worst case scenario, you just cut the song out of the DVD if we train wreck.
Sure,
but
I'm being silly.
No, as it went down, and it was not there was no real screw ups. So I'm very happy about that.
Sweet. So that's coming out June 21st, but what you can get now, it came out in October, your new album, your latest album, Blues Deluxe Volume 2. So that is out. And
Yes.
in this, you have another live concert film, an album, Tales of Time, which
Yes.
this kind of blew me away, considering, and maybe I'll ask you a question bouncing off this. It earned you your 26th number 1 on the Billboard Blues chart, which is more than any other artist.
Yes.
What does that
Which is
mean?
crazy.
Like, what is that like? When I say that, for someone who started out as a kid, getting a chance from B.B. King to have a record that more than any other blues artist ever. I mean, does that sink into you? Like, or how does that make you feel? What is that?
It really is a testament to the fans and how loyal they've been over the past 30 years. We've put out a lot of records, and they've been everything from straight blues to Tales of Time, which was our most kind of adventurous production. We had these, huge screens. The music was very arranged, very proggy, very not blues. And that was really, it's been a testament to how loyal the fans have been and how wonderful, the people that support me are, that they keep buying the records time and time again. And it's also one of those things where I feel that, as like I said, I keep harping on this because I just had a birthday, I feel like we're putting out the best music that I've ever put out. And my litmus test to stay in this, because I've 36 years this year since I started, is as long as we keep doing it at a high level. If we can do it at a high level and keep growing the audience and keep growing ourselves musically, then I'm going to keep doing it. The minute the skill set degrades or I feel like I'm putting a postage stamp on these things and just kind of not care anymore, then it's time to hang it up. I'm not really one of those artists that feels I need to run it to I'm 90. And
Okay.
and I just that's not in the cards. Maybe another 10 to 12, 13 years I'll reevaluate when I'm 60 years old, and that'll be it. That'll be a great career. I mean,
Okay.
if it ends tomorrow, it's been a great career.
Well, that definitely, for sure. It's like when you're a sports player, a football player, he's like a Hall of Famer. Maybe if it was cut short or whatever, like, his first 3 years, he's definitely going to be a Hall of Famer. So yeah, but you have a long career, I think, is still ahead of you. And thankfully, because you're still touring, going to be kicking off a 21-city tour, the Blues Deluxe tour. And
Yeah.
And I just got to say, though, when you do reevaluate at 60, just know that I was lucky. I mean, I was lucky enough. I mean, I guess from my position, yeah, to see B.B. King at 86, to be out there, like so you can't imagine yourself doing the being 80s, because it was interesting. I had a chance to see, obviously BB King, never saw him before, but he comes out in wheelchair is with the big chair and his throne, but it was an amazing experience. I felt every ounce of emotion that I'm sure you would feel at any BB King show throughout the years.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a case by case basis. You know what I mean? We're about to do a show with the Rolling Stones, opening up for them in Seattle in less than a week's time, and I'm watching Keith and Mick and Ronnie and that whole gang just go out there and kill it, and they're in their 80 or 81, and again, they're doing it at a high level. If you can do it at a high level like BB did all the way to the end, then absolutely, it's you have to be honest with yourself as an artist. We've all seen artists that have gone too far and stayed in it too long, and I don't want to be one of those. And I also have to evaluate, and a good friend of mine who just retired from the road said it best. And I asked him, I said, why was it the last run of shows? And he's like, you have to look at it like, how long, if I live to 100, it's like quality of life while you still have your health and you're still vertical. And, I'm one of these days, I want to travel and see the world. I mean, and you go, well, haven't you already done that? I'm like,
right.
Well, I've traveled and I've seen things, but not as a tourist, not as just a human going out there, and being able to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and see all the, Baroque churches and stuff of Europe. I mean, like, I have gigs that night, so you have to, you can't expel all your energy or expend all your energy, doing touristy things during the day when you have to deliver at 8 o'clock at night. So it's a totally different, when you're working, it's a totally different discipline and mindset.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. Because even in radio, whenever we do the iHeartRadio Awards in Vegas, my coworkers who go, they don't usually want to go because they're just working. They can't see Vegas. They're just stuck in a van. So it's like, yeah, you get to kind of air quote see certain things, but not really if you're there playing. And you mentioned the Rolling Stones, Seattle on May 15th, which is fantastic. And I want to use that to tie two things in together, which is incredible. Again, the level that they're doing it at. So I know you're a Simpsons fan. I don't know if you can see Homer over my left shoulder in my
big Simpsons fan.
Yeah, as am I. So I was just watching an older episode the other day, and this was like from, I don't know, the late 90s, and they had a Rolling Stones old joke there, and they're still doing it all these years later. So I think that's pretty funny that they can outlive. It was like the Lisa had on her wall the Rolling Stones steel wheelchair tour, 2000 or something, and here we are 20 years later. I just think that's special.
I think they've been a band for 61 years. I mean, it's insane. The longevity, and it's a testament to the songs, and it's also a testament to, obviously when you look at the hyperbole and the narrative, it's like, well, they partied hard. It's like they wouldn't be able to last. I think a lot of that was just they liked that kind of edgy, reputation that they had. But there's no way Keith would be vertical if the rumors were true. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everybody, they're obviously in good health and in good music. The good form, as they say in the UK. But it's music is so subjective, and the fact that they've now really been able to transcend their original audience now 3 or 4 times. You see 4 generations of families sitting in 6 chairs at a Rolling Stones concert going, I saw them in 72, I saw them in 85, I saw them in 97, I saw them in 2013. It's like, that's amazing.
Agreed. No, that is special. And it's kind of the same thing as I pivot, and I know I can't keep you here as long as I would like to. I'm sure in addition to the Homer in my background, you could see my Guns N' Roses posters. So it's the generations of fans that and I mentioned my son. I can't wait to take him to. He was too young last year to take him to Guns N' Roses and Metallica, but we're taking him to Foo Fighters. We're taking him to see Slash this summer at his blues festival. So the transition to Slash and the GNR theme. I listened to an interview you did a few years ago where you praised Slash and how he made the Gibson cool, like in the 80s where it wasn't cool. I was wondering, because you've collaborated with him, or I should say you've played with him at if you can just talk about Slash maybe as a person, as a guitar player a little bit, and maybe your thoughts on Guns N' Roses with that bluesy rock that they had.
I remember when Appetite for Destruction came out, back when MTV played music videos.
Sure.
And this was about 1986 or 87. Correct me, you're the expert.
87 is when Appetite dropped. Yeah.
And I had just started my career. I was sitting in with regional, national blues acts up in upstate New York. But in 86 or 87, on MTV, you could see a Stevie Ray Vaughan video. Yeah. You could see a Robert Cray video, a Fabulous Thunderbirds video. But the majority of the MTV Top 20 was kind of Sunset Strip, LA-based, hard rock that seemed a bit formulaic at the time. Now, people long for that because it seems, oh my God, people playing real music and instruments, but everybody kind of looked the same. It was the very teased hair and pointy guitars, and which was fine. It was a trend. Everybody, trends come and go. 91, Nirvana comes out and everybody wants to dress in flannels and wants a Fender Mustang. Well, in 87, Slash comes out, and Iggy Stradlin, you have to give him credit as well.
Izzy,
yeah. They come out and they look like a Lower East Side, but they were all from here, California, and they look like a Lower East Side punk band playing gutsy blues rock with a guitar sound that hadn't been heard in over a decade, and you're like. And Slash comes out and he's got a Sunburst Les Paul, which at the time was a Chris Derrig. It was not even a Gibson. It was a Derrig that he bought from Albert Molinaro at Guitars R Us on Sunset Boulevard. But we didn't care. It just sounded great. And the riffs there was no tremolo on it. It was just straight into a Marshall, and it cut through the music scene like a hot knife through butter. Not to sound cliche, but it stood out, and you could tell that he was influenced more by Steve Hunter and Dick Wagner and Joe Perry and Brad Whitford and the Jeff Beck group more than Eddie Van Halen, who really invented the whole late 70s through 80s rock guitar. Everybody wanted to be Eddie Van Halen, where Slash was like, I don't know if I can play like Eddie Van Halen, but I'm going to play a simpler, bluesier sound that really was the right sound at the right time. And he single-handedly reinvigorated the Gibson Les Paul. Everybody wanted a Les Paul after that. And you don't have to ask me. You can ask Henry Jeskowitz, who at the time owned Gibson, and at the time Gibson was making pointy head guitars, super strats, and the Les Paul had kind of fallen in popularity. And next thing you know, they have orders for Sunburst Les Pauls again, kind of like what Mike Bloomfield did, kind of like what the Jeff Beck group did, Jimmy Page and Eric Clapton and Keith Richards in the 60s. Everybody wanted a Sunburst Les Paul. Trends are cyclic, and things come and go, but he created an image and a sound that has now endured almost 40 years. And that's not many people can say that, and not many people can, no pun intended, lay their hat on that claim. It's like he's the guy in the top hat, and it's a beautiful image. It's the right image with the right guitar and the right sound. And it's the trick about the music business, and I'm known as the guy with the suit, the sunglasses, and the Les Paul. It's three things, and it's not just one. It's the sound, it's the image, it's the time.
Yeah. I love that. And speaking of time, I wish we had more. Joe, you were fantastic. I wish I could pick your brain, talk more about The Simpsons, a lot of other things, but I will just say that if all the releases that we spoke about today, the DVD releases, and also if you want to check out the tour dates for Joe Bonamassa, it's all at jbonamassa.com, jbonamassa.com. We're all over social media. And thank you. And I hope we get to do this again.
Anytime, man. I love talking about the gear, and especially like, stuff that we grew up with. And, it's really interesting paradigm shift. Like when you start seeing records that you grew up with as a kid now become certified classic. It's a real paradigm shift, and it's about, just keeping the music going. And there's a lot of great new talent playing guitar now, and Slash is a big part and a big influence to a younger generation. He's been able to find multiple generations of young people to really, to bite and dive into that sound, which is a great thing to see.
Absolutely. And the same can be said for you, Joe. And I'll also leave because I'm going to combine our interview with another interview, somebody I'm going to be interviewing Robert John from Robert John and the Wreck. So that's going to be a full episode. And that's another person waving that blues, the rock flag, Southern rock flag, musicianship, not AI, waving that flag high.
They're keeping the blues alive, and they're keeping the music alive. It's not just the blues. You got to keep the music alive.
The music alive. Yeah, that's the all-encompassing thing that we need to save. So, Joe, thank you so much. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Wish we had more time, man. We could do a deep dive into Simpsons. So,
well,
next time
around. Thank you so much. You take care.
I appreciate it, man.
Rather than just throwing a bunch of songs together that we think are fun, we're going over it, with a fine-tooth comb and just working on everything to try it. That's the goal. Very appetite.
For discovery. And time for the Appetite for Discovery segment. I love doing these because it's not all about like Joe Bonamassa, who is just, everyone knows who they are, so who he is. And it's like a very household name. But sometimes with Appetite for Discovery, what we like to do is, whether it be a new band or a band perhaps you, the AFD audience, isn't overly familiar with, let's discover them together. Now, I have to be clear right away, Robert, that Guns N' Roses fans are familiar with Robert John with the H, the famed photographer.
Sure.
You are not him. I just wanted to make
I am not, no.
Robert John, and from Robert John and the Wreck, who, as soon as you put on your camera, what did I say? Do you?
Your beard, my beard's bigger than yours.
It's better, not even just bigger. It's better.
Bigger and better.
Yeah, big. So I guess that's how they do it in Southern rock. I gotta keep it. You know what it is? Because I gotta keep mine somewhat kempt. Because otherwise, my mom likes to say I look like a rabbi. I don't. It's cool, but not for me. It's not for
my
me.
My mom's fought for years trying to get me to cut it, so
Oh.
I think it's just it's the motherly thing to do.
Sure. So first of all, I appreciate you taking some time, and thanks for joining the show today.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. And I'm not sure you didn't hear the Joe Bonamassa interview that this is coupled with for the full episode, because I try to make it as live as possible because I come from live radio, but it's podcasting. I break down the fourth wall. It is what it is. But the connection, the reason why I'm pairing you two together is not because you're both great artists, but you're set to release via Joe Bonamassa's Journeyman Records coming up on June 28th, your album Red Moon Rising. So I want to say congrats, even though it's not out. It must be very exciting.
Thanks. Yeah. It's been in the works for a bit. It's just crazy sometimes to think about. We recorded last spring, so it's been ready for a year, and then it's about time, and we're excited.
Oh, just sitting on it. That must be kind of. Do you tweet? Are you tempted to like change anything when you're kind of just waiting for it to be released for whatever the stars?
No. I mean, once we got it going on, then that's it.
Okay. See, that's my difference. I will still, even though I'll put out a show, And I understand I can't go in there and crazy tweak stuff, but it goes through my head. I'm like, what if I did this different, that different? So I guess I'm just curious if anyone is as neurotic as me. So I'm glad that you're
I
not.
mean, I feel like, there's always something that you'd want to change, but um, it's trusting that when you're in that moment, when you're recording that record, that you're using your gut and doing everything that, you know, you think is best at that moment. And it's usually always the best thing, opposed to thinking about something forever and dwelling on it. Sometimes I don't think that it makes the best raw material that you could, but everyone's different.
Sure,
um, that's just how I look at it.
for sure. So let's take a few steps back and kind of meet you a little bit. You're from Southern California, right?
Yep, Southern California, born and raised.
Okay, so please tell me because if you can't tell from the accent, I'm a New Yorker. I can't. It's so funny. I talk about all these bands from the West. I mean, GNR, West Coast. I
Yeah,
still
sure.
I still have yet to go to California. I still have yet to be there. I know. Shame on me. We'll take my son there because it's now that he's close to walking. We will want to take him everywhere. We just came back from England, but I digress. So tell me, when you were little, John, when you were little Robert, I should say, when you were growing up, what music? Because we're deciding what to influence him with now. What was influencing you growing up? And because I don't know, is Southern rock huge in Southern California? It's not always the first place.
No, not at all. I grew up on listening to like gospel with my dad.
Okay.
Oak Ridge Boys and Gaither Brothers and that gospel quartet type stuff. And that's the earliest memory I have of listening to music. And so, then and listening to oldies in the car on the way to school. I mean, we have a station out here called K Earth 101, and they play the oldies, old Motown and stuff like that. And that's the earliest I remember of listening to music and enjoying it and singing along. Um, and then, as you get older, then you start being able to find things on your own. It's not someone playing it for you. You're, in, I don't know, sixth or seventh grade, and, you can figure out how to use the internet, uh, you know, Kazaa and Napster and all that stuff. And, you just,
I haven't heard that.
yeah, LimeWire, so then you're at school and someone's like, hey, have you heard, you know, Aerosmith? And you're like, no. But that's I don't know, the kids that I was hanging out with. I don't know if it's weird, but I mean, we were talking about the Who and Aerosmith and Boston and that kind of stuff. And it wasn't even until later than that kind of getting into the current music of the times, the records that were being made, you know, in the early 2000s, um, was more high school for me, and then after high school was when, the deep dive through everything and understanding where all that music came from.
Right on. So, did you always know that because it's one thing to discover these bands. Like I'm the same way as you. A lot was through classic rock radio, all these stations as well. My dad was
Oh yeah.
my dad was classic rock, but my mom was doo-wop, and I mean they both were Motown as well. So, but I learned early on that I had no musical talent. That's why I went the radio route. When did you find out that you could play the guitar, you could sing, that this was going to be your path?
I'm still trying to figure that out. Um, I mean, I was playing piano in first grade,
Oh wow.
taking the lessons and hating every minute of it.
Okay.
And then fifth grade, I started playing the drums in elementary school and really loved that. And I played drums all the way through college, percussion drums. Um, and yeah, and there was always a guitar in the house because my dad always played guitar
Okay.
whenever we were sitting around. So guitar wasn't foreign to me. It was just I was playing piano, learning how to play piano, and then I took lessons for guitar in like junior high, and I had friends that were way better at it than me. So I was like, I'll just stick to the drums. So I didn't take it too seriously for a while, and then growing up through high school, it's hard to go write songs and play them for people on drums. um, you kind of lose all that melodic thing. So I think that's when I started picking it up more and wanting to play it more. And kind of, and I went to college for percussion, for playing the drums, and it's that when I realized, oh, I don't want to do this. I want to attempt and see what happens if I try and sing and play guitar and write some songs, and kind of just went from there. And yeah, I don't think there was ever a moment where I was like, man, I think I'm good at this. I just enjoy doing it. So
That's probably the way to be good at it, is to enjoy it. Otherwise, you're overthinking it, and
oh
I don't
sure.
know. It's you want to keep that organic, talent, and not hinder yourself and get lost in your mind. Or perhaps I'm just projecting here. Was your dad a did he just like playing guitar for fun, or was he a musician as well?
He just liked playing. He's one of those guys that can play whatever song you want to hear with the three chords that he knew.
Okay.
So he had the music inside of him, but he wasn't a musician by any means, or and in a professional rate or anything. But he's the one that was always playing piano and guitar when I was young.
It sounds like they were supportive, because you never know with parents. Like, oh, get a real job. That's never going to lead to anything. Were they supportive? Did they see early on that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, very much so. I mean, they got me a drum set when I was really into it. They got me a guitar when I was wanting the electric guitar.
Yeah.
Um, Nothing crazy, not like a expensive one, but something that would be useful and always supportive in music. And I mean, they still come to our shows. I mean, my
Okay.
dad's hitting 86 or something, and he's still trying to figure out every show he can make it to. So
That's all.
um, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
it's a it's a great thing to have growing up. I mean, some people don't have that, and I'm blessed to have that support.
awesome. I'm happy to hear that. So how did the birth of Robert John and the Wreck happen? Because you can find yourself going from band to band, or wanting to be in a band, or wanting to be solo and work with musicians. What was the genesis of this band that's been going on since what, 2011?
Yeah, I started just playing these songs that I was writing in coffee shops. Um, Growing up, I mean high school, uh, late high school maybe. Just local coffee shop, set up in the corner, played these songs that I can't imagine were very good. I can remember a couple of them, but you know, um, and then you find a couple guys to play with, and then you got a little band going, and um, the first kind of iteration was just a Robert John band because I don't know, we're just dudes playing music, and that kind of group became more of a band. It wasn't a backing band. We were going on these little tours, making no money. We were writing songs together and recording songs together and figuring it out, basically what it is to be in a band. Um, and so at that time, we were, I wanted it to be a band. These guys were in it with me. It wasn't that look of these are the these are the side guys. And so we were playing around with different names, and Robert John the Wreck became Robert John of the Wreck in 2011, and we just kept on pushing, and we're continuing to push. And it's gone through some lineup changes throughout the years, but yeah, it was that's kind of how it melded together to become what it is.
I like it. I like band names. I mean, it's part of the reason why I like Guns N' Roses. That's part of the allure.
Yeah,
But it just flows. Robert John and the Wreck. It just sounds very cool. In addition, just the music itself. So if you could just tell anybody if they're whether they're first discovering you, or should they start with the new record that's coming out? I don't think so. We don't want to wait. So like, what would you suggest? Maybe what album would you suggest they start with when we prepare for Red Moon Rising again, June 20th?
yeah. I mean, I can tell you that one of our first records, Glory Bound, is still one of my favorites, and one that we came out with like kind of right at the pandemic, called Last Light on the Highway, is one of my favorites. Um, but I have people come up to me all the time asking for songs from every single record we put out, so it's we have something. Apparently we have something for everyone, because people still come up and they ask for a song I've never heard anyone ask for before, and I'm like, really, that's interesting. We'll see, maybe one day if we'll do that, but yeah, I mean, those two are, I guess I would push it for and until the new record comes out.
What was it like to team up with Joe Bonamassa to kind of get his blessing to be on his label, his record? I mean, that's kind of like
Yeah,
an acknowledgement of all the hard work, right?
yeah, it's been great. The Joe and the team, they just have a team that knows what they're doing, and it's just great to have that backup. Apart from just the five of us, out there in a van and trying to figure it out. But we did a Keeping the Blues Alive at Sea, Joe's cruise, I think in 2019. And we met kind of everybody in the team and had a great time. And then we, did the next one whenever that was. And we just kept that relationship going. It wasn't nice to meet you. You guys want to be on the label. It was, quite a few years of becoming friends and understanding each other and seeing what we could do together and then deciding to do it, which I think was really organic. It wasn't a nice to meet you handshake and then that's it, which made us feel better, we've had friends, get picked up and get dropped and all that crazy stuff. So we wanted definitely to find something organically in the support slot of a label and a team behind us. So
Yeah,
we're stoked.
right
It's
on,
awesome.
right on. I don't know because off air we were talking about our kids, making sure they were settled. So I don't know if you heard my 1 year old
Oh, I
crying.
haven't yet.
Oh, okay. 'Cause now he's pacified with the bottle, but he was. So I don't know. He gives me like a 2 minute warning, like wrap it up, Dad. Let's go, let's go. And because I know I can't keep
That's nice. Wait till
right.
they're two. They don't give you warnings anymore.
It's it's gonna happen. I know. He could hold himself up. He's there. You could see that he wants to walk, like he'll stand and like it looks like he's ready to jet, but nothing yet. Nothing yet.
And
Uh
then one day you'll turn around and he'll be running.
yeah, well, oh God. I've
Yeah.
enjoyed every moment that I have. Uh so especially with you. So before we get out of here, I mean, if you haven't been able to tell by the name of the podcast, with all the Guns N' Roses stuff I have in my background, what I did with Joe and every guest here, it's a 6 degrees of GNR bacon, like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Uh-huh.
Some have more connections than others. Joe spoke about his friendship with Slash. I'm just curious if you have, I don't know if you have a connection, but at the very least, are you a fan? Have you ever seen them in concert? Favorite song, anything like that, Guns N' Roses wise.
Yeah, definitely a fan. I
Cool.
It's hard to fathom that people wouldn't be.
You never know. People,
Man, I'm trying to think, and I feel like I'm gonna say it and it's gonna be wrong, and then I'm gonna look really bad on your podcast. But
no wrong answer.
who who was the original drummer for Guns N' Roses?
Steven Adler. Oh, the original is
Who,
Rob Gardner, but the classic one is Steven Adler from
and then who was after that?
Matt Sorum.
Matt Sorum. Okay. The only connection I have as far as degrees of separation is that I became friends with a guy named Austin Hanks, who is friends with Billy Gibbons and now plays with Billy Gibbons, which is Matt Sorum is playing with Billy Gibbons. So we were just on the Rock Legends boat with them, and it was awesome to see Matt Sorum play and to say hi. Super nice guy. I think that's the only connection, if anything at all,
That's pretty good.
with anyone else in the band.
No, that's pretty good. I mean, I bring this example up a lot. I had one of the actresses from the Walking Dead. I'm not forgetting her name. She's Jadis on there. She was just in the spinoff with Rick. Anyway, I guess once because the connection there was that Slash was a fan of The Walking Dead. He submitted a song. It was rejected, but she had nothing to do with that. But her only connection was once I was in an elevator. with Slash. And that was it.
Nice.
So I mean, it's just a great opportunity to bring.
Yeah.
I mean, just where GNR just fits with everybody.
Yeah.
Is there because he Matt Sorum played on the Illusions. Do you have like a favorite song? Do you or whether it be off Appetite or the Illusions? Anything that because I know they're
I
not
don't know. I don't know where this song sits in their repertoire,
okay.
but for some reason, the first song that comes to my head when you say GNR is Civil War.
Nice.
Um, yeah, I think that would be, you know, I don't know why though. I didn't listen to it this morning, or I don't listen to it like all the time, but
That's
for
it hits.
some reason you're talking about GNR, that song comes in my head.
Oh,
More than all the songs that everyone, you know, talks
no.
about most of the time. But you know, I we've definitely covered like Knocking on Heaven's Door. I know it's a Bob Dylan song, but um and we always like reference the GNR version every
Okay.
time we do it. I mean, that was a long time ago. We haven't done that in a long time, but yeah, I don't know. Civil War is like what I would say right now today.
Okay. I
You
like
know,
so then now that what that means is you need to cover Civil War. That you need to that's how
yeah.
I'm interpreting this. Can't
Okay, yeah, I guess so.
Robert,
I don't know if we could pull that one off.
hey, you would put a bluesy. I mean, they're blues-based rock bands at their roots, and
Oh, I'm
you
not worried about the guys. I'm worried about me singing like Axl
well,
Rose.
you'll put your own spin on it, and I'm sure it would be
Yeah,
great.
it'll be great. We'll
Yeah.
send it to you.
Okay. I'll wait by the mailbox. So Robert, thank you so much for your time. I hope we get to do this again. You're a really cool dude, and I
Yeah,
got
thanks for having me.
I got to learn to. It's the mustache. It's getting it out there. I love that though. When it's almost like Yosemite Sam style. Oh yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah, it's pretty long.
You put
I just
anything
keep
in
it.
it? Any product?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
No, I keep it maintained into the beard, so it's one unit. You know, it's not. I don't have two different things going on.
Yeah, me neither. But yours is good. Beard and the Blues.
Thanks, man.
If
Yep.
you don't cover Civil War, name your next album Beard and the Blues, and that's my
those
my other shitty
those
idea.
are the only two options I have.
Yeah, beard, blues, and beer. I don't know if you would drink.
Sounds like a festival.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So that does it for this episode of Appetite for Distortion. Thank you again to Joe Bonamassa. Thank you to Robert John. And until I'll give you a hint because I've had these episodes. They're in the can. They're done. Jacoby Shaddix and Daughtry, they're going to be on together. So look out for that one. As well as Bernard Fowler from the Rolling Stones. That was a great interview. So look out for those. When will you see them? In the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, I don't know if soon is the word, but you'll see it.